week, our weather impact team's been tracking our first tropical disturbance of the hurricane season, but is it something that we need to keep an eye on necessarily? Chris joins us once again, raising our weather IQ this morning. Chris.
And what's better to use the now and a current explainer to explain one key in tropical development. So there's multiple different forms. Starts as a tropical wave, there's tropical disturbances, and that's what this is. And then it could upgrade itself from anywhere from a tropical depression, tropical storm, hurricane, post-tropical cyclone. And we learn a lot more about that in depth during our Hurricane IQ special. But let's focus in on this. We only have a 10% chance that this turns over to a tropical depression and or a tropical storms. First off, let's go into what makes one of these systems. First off, you need a pre-existing weather pattern. That's exactly what we have right now. So a tropical wave or a tropical disturbance, that's what's happening right off the coast of Florida. So we have checkbox 1, we'll say, for this system. Water temperatures need to be 80 degrees or warmer, and that's down to a depth of about 150 feet. When they're cooler than that, storms will oftentimes weaken, and that's usually why storms that move up in the coast, up in New England, will start to really get a lot weaker once they get a little bit closer. Also, you need low wind shear. Wind shear is the change of wind speed and direction with height. If it's super strong up above, it can really cut into the development. They're really fickle creatures. They like everything to be just right. And tropical moisture, plume of moisture is needed. Once you get Saharan dust, which we have, that'll often kill a storm, and that's exactly what this one is really fighting against. So Saharan dust, by the way, there's a lot of hype online. This is not unusual. We see this each and every year, especially during June and July. That's why it usually tempers our season a little bit earlier on, but that's going to be pluming into this system, so it is going to be breaking it up. We also have a high wind shear environment at first. A lot of this red where this is trying to form, so that's cutting into the storm. So really, two things are working against it. But there's one other major thing besides cooler temperatures that'll weaken a storm: landfall. There's a good chance that that's going to happen as well. So there would be a chance that this could become subtropical storm Andrea. And subtropical, the big difference here is that for a typical tropical storm, the center of circulation, because for any of these to happen, it has to have a closed low. It has to have a circle on the map. Well, the strongest winds are usually near the center. But during a subtropical event, you usually hear those named earlier in the season. That means the strongest winds are away. So it's not that tight circle right in the middle that everything circles that way. Sometimes it's a little bit more oblong shaped, and then it can be fueled by other things such as fronts. Well, that would be this case and scenario. So we have some active fronts that push in, but then it makes landfall. So there's so many different things that are working against this being our first tropical depression or tropical storm of the season. There is a scenario, though, once this low moves back out into the Atlantic, the warmer water temperatures, the lesser wind shear could allow this thing to develop into something. I'm just saying in the near term for Carolina's fate, this is not going to be numbered, and this will not be named. So now we know a little bit more about that. Let's move on with the forecast. Here's a little bit closer look at what I think is going to happen. For one, if you live in Albemarle, Wadesboro, Rockingham, let's call this line off towards the east. Of course, we have a lot of great towns in between, but just naming those ones specifically, that's where the heaviest rain is going to be. That's where I think that we have that excess of moisture. There's always going to be a wetter part of a system. That's where it's going to be. So really east of I-77 sees a majority of the rain, but then we start to see scattered showers circulate back into the Charlotte area throughout the morning heading into the afternoon. So I still think we're keeping rain around most of the day. There's just a lot of lulls in between, and then again, the further east you go is where we're seeing some of those heavier totals. And then by the end of the afternoon heading in the evening, I think that we get rid of the rain and we might even see a little bit of sunshine as some of that drier air works in. So this is not a big wet weather event for the Charlotte area. Instead, I think it's just more of kind of a gloomy and cooler day, but some of us will pick up to 2 inches of rain. As far as our futurecast beyond that, we will have another chance for an isolated pop-up shower and thunderstorm chance on Friday. That is being added to the forecast, and we'll do that again on Saturday. As far as how we feel, it's humid, y'all. Today is sticky in the afternoon, and then beyond that, it's humid to muggy. So get used to me saying those words. Something that you expect in June. It's just that now that it's actually here, some of us might be like, meh. So rain is likely for your Thursday, isolated on Friday. I already showed you that on the map. Saturday is a day that we're still watching a little bit closer. 90 degrees, a humid day, and a front colliding into all that heat and humidity will up our thunderstorm chances and even severe weather potential. So if you live around Charlotte and around the I-85 corridor, we do have an elevated risk for a severe storm. I'm not going to go ahead and call it weather alert at this point, just letting you know in the back of your head. Maybe you want to do things earlier on your Saturday because you could have some pretty big thunder boomers that roll into the evening. Timing is still all over the place because we still have to get past this tropical disturbance before we can really focus in on the weekend. Just letting you know what I'm seeing so far. And then we see this widespread front further off towards the north. It starts to work its way a little bit further down to the south. So let's do this one more time. Let's show you the Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. Up to 90 degrees on Saturday. We still have not seen that 90-degree point, and then really feeling like June going forward. It's hot, it's humid, and occasionally stormy. Lisa?